Well, this one where I thought I had to add 2 leads, this flange retightened up on me. That's it. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that first. And then, of course, I'll remeasure it. But the mistake showed up. So here's the thing. If you were very careful measuring and taking leads out, and then all of a sudden you have to add more than one, chances are you've got a action center problem that worked its way in for some reason. So you can go back, raise them up high, and just watch them. You don't have to do a swing test. You could kind of feel them and watch them at the same time. And then you know if there's going to be any more problems. They should, correct swing, they should actually drop almost at 90 degrees, but not quite. Okay, so like right here, because I went through all of these before, it's just sometimes they work their way back, you know. So if you see any, just go ahead and fix them now. And like I said, I take care of this action center, and then I'll remeasure for the correct lead. So you can see I didn't need 2 leads, just 1. You need time on your side, and you need gluing time, drying time for glue. So what you can do is first remove the keys where you have an X or wherever you have to take out another lead. That will be your first step. We're going to deal with those first and get some plugs put into these so that we get them to start drying while we work on the other stuff. Well, I showed you guys before how to remove leads with a drill press. I happen to have one of these, though. It's not any faster using this, but it is handy. So, I can't remember where I bought it. Some of you might be concerned of having no leads in the base using these springs. Well, actually, you're probably still going to have 1 lead. It's just going to be in a different spot. You have to remove this and put a new one in. Well, in this case, there's no more leads to remove, so I'm going to write a T on this one because it has an X. This stands for tension. So later we're going to adjust the tension of the spring to adjust the down weight. I want to make this point here that you always adjust the spring before you would ever put lead in the back. Reduce the tension of the spring first. There's some keys at the top end, of course, that you don't even have a spring because they end around where the dampers end. And then you can go ahead and put some lead in the back behind the center rail. But before you would ever do that, you reduce the spring tension. You could see how nice these jigs work even for drilling if you stop your quill going just almost touching. And you can move this thing around any way that you want. It holds it straight for you, allows a platform to drill through. It's really nice. I want to point out that this can only be used for enlarging the hole that's already there. You cannot use this for making a new hole because it's going to spiral around the bottom. You're going to end up splitting the wood. You have to drill wood directly. Yeah, these jigs are so nice. I wish I thought of these years ago. You can use it for just about all the components of the drill press in a variety of ways. The next step that we're going to do while we're waiting for our keys to dry, because we just put plugs in them, is we're going to remove the keys where we have to add lead. Need to put the keys with smaller leads in a whole different pile. Leave any keys that you're going to be adding lead to on the opposite side of the center rail, leave them in the action. Your next step is around the keys where the arrows are, remove some keys around those areas because you need to be able to have access when you put the action back on to be able to measure. Notice you don't have to pull all the rest of the keys out, just some to where you can have some access. And now we're going to put the stack back on, and we're going to measure so that we can drill these as well at the same time. Next, I'm going to secure the stack surrounding the areas where the arrow keys are. I don't have any over here, so I'm only going to do 6 screws to save time. Okay, see how we have access now to this? So we're going to put a weight in the back. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's good. So I will mark this. And I put an A on the top so that I can quickly see it and I don't have to guess or mess around. And I got the arrow pointing. The next step, these are now dry enough to where we can now belt sand and make the plugs flush with the rest of the keys at this point. The next step is to erase all of your little X's if you did this. Next, with the blank slate, you're going to put the keys back on that you just sanded, and then we're going to weight them, or at least figure out where the weights are going to go. Actions back together. Notice I did not need screws put into this side because there's nothing on this section. Action goes back into the piano, and now we're going to measure for our new weights. Everything is now ready to be drilled. I figured out where the rest of the new leads are going to go, and now I'm going to drill this outside because it's beautiful out. Make a tall but thin platform to do your key drilling. 3/4 of an inch is really good. You could even go a little bit thinner than this if you want. Go on the edge of your table. Also, if you find that you're a bit of smoking, stop and check. You probably got a chunk of wood that's stuck in the Forstner bit. Just a tip. Line your bit up carefully from top to bottom, allowing even space, equal space on both sides, and you'll drill beautifully. Always clean your bit in between each pass, because the stuff can really get stuck in there and affect your next hole, so it will not start very easy. You might wonder how this happened, how I'm putting the lead back in the same spot. Well, it's really simple. The new leads now are tapered, the old leads were not, and weighed more. So actually, if it was the same size lead, it would be in a different location. I know I forgot to mention, but it's very important before you even start this. Draw your line, the V line. Most of you technicians know what I'm talking about. It's just easier in the end in case you get confused, you lose some keys or something to place and you can't read them. Very important, you draw the line. There's lots of ways to compress lead. My plier that I use for that doesn't work anymore for that. I made a tool here a long time ago that I can use to compress the lead with. And then I use just a standard punch. I put this in like this. I put the tapered end in first. And I pound 10 good whacks of the hammer until it's almost flush. I just finished pounding, and now you can see what's left here. And then I just complete it. You can see the other side. Then I complete it by tapping it in further. And here's the end result when it's done. Okay, all my holes are now drilled and of course filled with lead. My next step is to do the small ones. So I use a 23/64 bit, and you can use a spiral bit for smaller ones. I just drill right into my little pedestal here, and then you just right over there, I could just pound them right in. They just wedge real nicely. You technically can do this with the bigger ones too, but you have more of a chance of splitting the key, I think. This is why I just go with a little bit of a bigger hole, and I could just compress them wherever I see fit. And I'll show you here. When I pound them, I just have equal spacing on both sides, and these are super tight. And I don't know, it's just the way I do it. There's lots of ways to do this though.